Hello, my friend. My name is Kai Gröning. I'm a fitness performance and mindset coach. I've been helping people for 25 years with their physical and mental component, if it's athletes, CEOs, and just regular people. Today, I want to talk about weight loss and how you can apply mindset to your weight loss and all of the components that um, come into place when you want to lose weight. The more evident components I will go over on the first slide. And on the second slide, certain aspects when it comes to mindset, brain chemistry, and many other aspects that most people are not aware of. So once you watch this whole video, you're going to be an expert in the field of weight loss, and I think it was very comprehensive and will give you deeper understanding, and with that, really maximize your opportunity to lose weight. So let's get right into it. So when we generally talk about weight loss, we talk about um, burning more calories than you add. So if you want to lose 1 pound of weight, it's 3,500 calories. So you divide over a week, 3,500 calories, 7 days, 500 calories per day, negative 500 calories. That means you lose a pound per week. Now, depending on your weight, the more excessive weight you have, the more calories you will also burn. So as you lose more weight and can get to your goal weight or ideal weight, your metabolism will slow down a little bit, but usually it's less than people actually assume. So to be able to lose weight, we can just improve what we are measuring. So the main component is to track your calories. You can do that with apps that have scanners on it, so you know exactly what you're taking in if you have like a box or something like that. Or what is also very helpful, writing things down in just in written form. The advantage of written form is there's an area in our brain, it's called RAS, reticular activating system. It's responsible for our awareness, our arousal state. And when we write things down, we improve our awareness. So through the awareness, we have the ability to self-reflect. Do I really want to take this in? And that alone, that's my experience with clients that want to lose weight. Just the tracking alone will already help you to make better choices. Um, and then also, you want to track your weight on a scale. Body fat scales, they're pretty precise nowadays. Some really cool stuff. You can measure the visceral fat, your basal metabolic rate, and many other components, your muscle percentage, your muscle mass, which is very important. It's not only losing weight, it's also how does it distribute. Obviously, you want to have more muscle mass as you exercise and less body fat. Um, One simple component that always works and usually works the fastest is when you eliminate carbs. Most people take in too many carbs slash sugar, and that's usually where you want to cut down first. Um, and it has also obviously effects on your gut health and many other components. But tracking your carbs is very important. Also remember, we don't necessarily need carbohydrates, but we need protein. So most people are a little bit too low in their protein intake and too high in their carbohydrate intake. So cut down on the caloric intake, especially on the simple carbs. Um, we don't need those components, whereas protein is essential for us to rebuild muscle mass and much, much more. Another good example is don't drink your calories. When it comes to soda, alcohol, all of these things, these are empty calories. If you want to have some flavor to it, what I like to do is I put some magnesium tablets in my water, or I put some lime or lemon into the water. It adds a little flavor, and but without the unnecessary calories. Another rule that I always have with for myself and with my clients as well, think protein first. So before you put something on your plate, um, look at your protein. That's the most important source. The less legs, the better. So meaning fish, salmon first, then chicken, and then red meat. Then when we talk about healthy fats, we need fats. Omega-3 are very important, especially for brain health and many other components. Um, think about where do I get my fats from? Avocado, um, and oil of oil, and so on. Um, then another thing is you want to have a good amount of fiber. When we have 1 calorie, if we add 1 gram of, 1 calorie, 1 gram of fiber, we can cut out basically one of the um, calories that we have from carbohydrates, for example. So fiber is very good, not only for our gut health and many other things. It slows down our digestive system, um, so which then helps us with our glycemic index. That is another component. Next one, intermittent fasting, always very powerful. Um, the goal here is to have a window of minimum 12 to 16 hours where you don't eat anything. So let's say 6 p.m. you eat your dinner, so until the next day 6 a.m. you don't want to eat anything. And then the goal is to add every day like an hour, yeah, and then eventually you want to be don't want to eat at least till 10 a.m. or something like that. It helps to reduce your overall calories, and also it helps you to for the body to get used to actually burn um, your fat versus your carbohydrates. So what happens in intermittent fasting, you get into ketosis. That means that your glycogen storage is depleted, and then the body starts to utilize fat directly as energy source. If you're constantly snacking and eating something, there's always energy in your glycogen storage, and you will not tap into your body fat. So this is a very important component. And also for longevity, intermittent fasting has to be proven to be very effective. And there are many other health effects, so you want to look into that. Um, this is a little bit, you can add a keto diet with the intermittent fasting to enhance the effects. Not necessarily, not always necessary, but some people like to combine those to get even more effect. And then, obviously, Mediterranean diet is something that has been around for a long time. There are always some flaps, different aspects, but I'm just talking about mainstream what has to be proven, and it will help you to get where you want to be. Um, Next, eliminate processed food. So if you look in the ingredients list and there's a long list of ingredients, usually not a good thing. It's very chemicals. If you have one ingredient on the ingredient list, like let's say a avocado is an avocado or fish, there's nothing added to it. That's usually the best route to go. Um, Now exercise, always for to burn calories to get more difference between the calories that are coming in and the calories you're burning per day. Um, you want to do something. Weightlifting is very important, not only to increase your basal metabolic rate. The more weight muscle mass we have, the more calories we burn. Um, but weightlifting and something like HIIT training are very effective when it comes to it's called EPOC, excessive post-oxidant consumption. So through intense training, could be weightlifting or like interval training, high intensity interval training, we are burning not only in the training but afterwards as well. So after your workout, when you sweat, that's a good sign. Um, your metabolism continues to increase to basically rebuild muscle mass and to recover. And that's another good component that you want to add to your um, calorie burning. Yeah? Um, oh, eliminate temptation. So this is another thing. There's a lot of research. The more effort it takes you to get to something. So if you have to drive down to the grocery store to get ice cream or something like that, you're less likely to do it. So the closer, the more access, the easier the access. If you have something on the like sweets on a plate or something right next to you, you're more likely obviously to eat it. The more effort you have to expend to get food that you might don't want to eat, um, the better your chances of success. So try to keep the unhealthy food out of your house. Next one. Yeah, healthy alternatives. Yeah, so sometimes you can eat some frozen berries or something like instead of ice cream, have a similar effect. Chewing gum is a good way of avoiding to, snack on food. There are different ways of doing that. Um, Food that um, you have trouble reading the ingredients list. So if it's a complex word, then it's artificial. So obviously that's something that you want to keep out of your body. And slow eating. So this is another thing that I recommend to all my clients. Um, Before they start to eat, just center yourself, do some breathing, come down, what do I feel, name your emotions, so on, to center yourself. Praying is also a great way to come back to the table and to get back into your body. Most of the time, people are still in an aroused state or in an excited state, maybe coming from work or something like that, and they just start to eat very quickly. And another component is just to count your chewing at the beginning. So if you tend to eat, to swallow very quickly, that also helps not only to start to digest the food better, but also to get more pleasure out of the food. So the more we are present in the moment, the more pleasure we get out of the food, the less we will eat.
Now, on this slide, we will talk about the components that most people are not aware of. And looking back at my experience coaching people, these are very often the components that hold people really back. Now, let's get right into it. The most important aspect is to create an awareness of the connection between our caloric intake and our emotional state. So if we are stressed, if we're overworked, if we are struggling with some personal challenges, it will reflect in our caloric intake. Some people tend to eat more sugary food, some people tend to eat more salty food, but overall our caloric intake will increase. So being aware of it gives us the opportunity to make adjustments. Just what is in our awareness is also in our control. So if you're not aware of how many calories you're taking in, you have no ability to really adjust. So that's another important aspect. Obviously, we want to track how many calories you're taking in when you're eating, and if you have when you're eating, and if you have the awareness that you're taking in more calories, also what is your emotional state during that time. As you become more aware of the connection between emotional state and your caloric intake, you want to also sit with the emotion. What emotions do I actually feel? Additionally to that, it is very helpful if you have a coach, could be also a family member, but the best a coach or a therapist that you can talk to as you go through challenging, as we all do, through challenging situations. And just verbalizing certain challenges, emotional states that you have will actually already eliminate a lot of the challenges you're going through. Another good component that is very helpful is to journal. Journal at nighttime to process the day, or reframing in the morning. Whatever comes to your mind, bring upon a sheet of paper. One of the components why it's so important is we become more aware of what is actually running in the back of our mind. So it could be limiting beliefs, it could be a negative self-talk. That gives us the opportunity to actually reframe these components and also create new patterns. So as we become aware of our patterns when it comes to eating and also in everyday life challenges that we might be facing, we take it out of our mind and put it on a sheet of paper. Awareness increase. There's an area in our brain, the reticular activating system, that is responsible for our awareness. So when we write things down, we get more clarity, and then with that we can also change and shift our behavior. Another aspect is just being aware food is a drug like anything else. Now, we do have to take in food. If you're addicted to some other drug, you can just choose not to take the drug anymore. But with food, we have to eat food to survive. So finding the right balance there is very important, and that's why we have to manage our emotions to then being able to be present when we eat and have an appropriate amount of caloric intake and also choosing the right food. Then also, when we talk about weight loss, we have to talk about potential chemical imbalances. So if you have ADD, if you're bipolar, if you're struggling with depression or we're struggling with some trauma, these components will massively affect the way you take in food. And when we have neurotransmitter imbalances, we have to address these first, because otherwise we have big obstacles. Now, there is a natural way of doing this, and that is always my first go-to. So when we talk about bipolar, ADD, depression, all the components that come with it, exercise, meditation, breathing, cryotherapy, all of these components will greatly help to balance out our neurotransmitter levels. And with that, put us on a completely different starting point with which we then can attack certain challenges. So that's a very important aspect to be aware of. Then also when it comes to trauma, so when we talk about abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, these components will have a great effect on the food intake, and we can through fMRIs now show how trauma and other components affect the activity in our brain. So we want to focus on those components and clean up those components first, go in the past. If it's ART, EMDR, NLP, you can utilize different tools to reprocess traumatic events that otherwise would have a big effect and would probably create challenges that would set you back quite often. So if you, for example, have some physical abuse, eating food can create a protective mechanism because you might not be seen as attractive, when there was, for example, some sexual abuse or these other components. So that is very important to address these with a therapist that is qualified to do some trauma work. Next, being aware of your patterns in general. So when we eat a certain food, if you have this pattern, for example, you're coming from work, you're still stressed, you're in a tense state, and you just run to the table or to the fridge and start to eat quickly, you want to look at the states that are connected with the food, and with that you can also then create new healthier patterns. So instead of like sitting down and eating quickly and swallowing the food down, create some time between you arriving at home, decompressing, maybe going for a run or do some breathing. Another good component that I always recommend with clients is to do some just simple breathing before you eat, or a prayer is also a great way of creating a healthy trigger to get centered in the moment before you eat, and be more present. So the goal is to through the presence, the mental presence when you eat, to actually get more pleasure out of food. So don't be distracted and watch TV or be on the phone while you eat. Put all of that on the side and regulate your emotional state so that you're present, so you get more pleasure out of it, which then means you can also eat slower and also don't need as much food to get the same pleasure. Also then we think about every time when we roll out a behavior, if it's an old one or a new one, you are encouraging that same neural pathway, so the same behavior. So the more we repeat certain behaviors, the more we strengthen it. So this is also a good motivator when it's like, well, today it's an exception, I'm going to eat X, Y, Z. Always ask yourself the question, do I want to strengthen an old behavior that's not serving me? Or do I want to create a new one and strengthen a new pattern? So that's a very important aspect. Additionally, know that you will fall off. I've never coached somebody, and this never happens. When you set goals to succeed, you will never have 100% success rate. So you will fall off, be aware of it, get back to neutral thinking, and say like, okay, what are the components that led me to fall off? Is there something that I can learn? Can I adjust the strategy? And if so, you create a new strategy. Otherwise, you just get right back on to the bandwagon. So if you talk in a negative way to yourself or shame yourself, there's nothing positive coming out for it. So try to avoid that. Be very self-compassionate. Remove the judgment. Remove negative feelings and refer to neutral thinking. So self-shame is a component that we have to be aware of, so we can then stop that pattern and engage in more positive and encouraging self-talk. Then also there are very often certain limiting beliefs. These occur when we repeat behavior and when we might be otherwise aware of our shortcomings that are holding us back from leaning into the discomfort of change. Sometimes what happens, we cannot sit with that cognitive dissonance between knowing what we have to do and what we might not be implementing at that moment. So it is easier psychologically to come up with certain limiting beliefs to take us out of this emotional grind or this emotional stress. So some people, common things that I've heard, well, I have a thyroid problem, or I'm big boned, I can't lose weight, and so on, so on. So those are things that you have to sit with. Is this really true? If you struggle with thyroid problems, well, let's check that up. Let's go get your blood work done and adjust that. And then after that, we can go right back into it. Another very effective pattern that I do is a daily priming in the morning, certain mindset that assists us through which we perceive the world. And by doing that, we reduce our stress levels, we are staying proactive. If stress or stressful challenging situation occur, we already have primed our mind and filtered the information in a different way. So it's typical aspect is that I always teach, everything is happening for me, not to me, for me. So what does it help us with when there's a stressful situation? Instead of becoming the victim of a situation and shutting down, we have now the opportunity to actually increase the activity in our prefrontal cortex, and we're looking for a solution. How can I utilize this? Why is this happening for me? What can I learn from this? And by doing that, we are actually reducing the activity in our limbic system, in our emotional brain, and increasing the activity in the prefrontal cortex, executive thinking, long-term planning. And by doing that, we staying engaged in finding a solution instead of getting emotionally charged, which then creates stress, also physical and emotional stress. So these are the main components. There are a couple more that you will see on the slide. And let's go to the next one. Some last thoughts before I let you go. This is one thing that I focus on a lot, neutral thinking. So when I start with a client, it doesn't matter if it's executive coaching or I coach an athlete or if I coach somebody with for weight loss. When something negative happens, we always come back to neutral thinking. So at the beginning, I do this first 30 days on a daily basis. So all of your negative thoughts, or if something negative happened, we write them down. We then take the negative connotation out and just state neutral, in a neutral way, what happened. And then eventually we reframe it in a positive way to create like a action pattern. This is something that you always want to refer to when you have negative thoughts, when you fell off, and know that you will fall off. I've never coached somebody in 23 years that didn't fall off. Even people that I consider to be exceptional when it comes to implementation or habit change, you will fall off. Just be aware of it, come back to neutral thinking, get right back on the bandwagon. Next one that is very, very powerful, try to get a coach, therapist, whatever you need. If you don't have the funds for it, maybe create that with a family member that supports you, maybe a person that also wants to lose weight or a friend. It's very powerful, have set at least weekly, bi-weekly coaching sessions with that person or the coach. Additionally, really work on your self-compassion. It's something that we can all work on. Be aware of your self-talk, remove the negative connotation, be kind to yourself, and do this in a written form. It's very powerful. As you do your journal or as you write down your negative thoughts, always reframe them first in a neutral way to create strategy, and then create a positive self-talk in your mind. It's very important. Nothing positive comes off self-shame. And keep in mind, when you're struggling, ask yourself, do I want to strengthen an old pattern, old neural pathway, or a new one? So we either strengthen one of these, the more we gravitate to the old one, the more likely we will, under stressful situation, roll out that pattern. So repetition, keep in mind, is the key here for success. And then one more thing that you will realize as you go through the journey, there is research that people that slowly and continuously lose weight are more likely to keep it off. Why is that? When we lose very quickly, we don't build the neural pathways, we don't build the new health patterns that come with weight loss. When you do so, when you take your time, when you consistently do it, it's very likely that you're tracking everything, you're creating new habits on the go, and you continuously improve. New behaviors that are initially challenging will become subconscious and easy for you, and you add new patterns and get stronger and stronger. And with that, you will realize that all of these patterns that you're creating, you can then implement them and roll them out into other areas of your life. So this is more than it's just about weight loss. You will realize your energy increases, you will realize your resiliency will increase, your thought patterns change, the implementation to try something new and so on will increase. So this is a life-changing journey. It's a beautiful journey. It's not easy. But it's very well worth the effort, and I can just encourage you to lean into it. If you need help with this journey, feel free to reach out. I have my webpage on the bottom here, and I wish you the best of the luck. Take care.